Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again to really dig into a topic, get past the surface noise, and give you something solid you can actually use.
Yeah, something functional. Today, we're tackling, well, arguably the one thing you absolutely need for any kind of real, lasting success: discipline.
Discipline. And we're going beyond just, the motivational poster.
Oh, definitely. We've been looking at a whole range of stuff: psychology, what makes top performers tick, how people actually achieve big goals throughout history. And the takeaway: it's not always exciting, maybe not glamorous, but it is absolutely essential. Our sources just hammer this home. Without discipline, talent just sits there. Opportunities drift by. Good intentions, they just stay intentions.
Exactly. So for you listening in, wanting to get quickly but also deeply, our mission today is to get past the wishing stage and into the doing mechanics.
Right. How does it actually work?
We need to frame discipline not as some kind of punishment, but as the actual strategy that leads to real freedom.
And a great starting point, it sums it up so well, is that quote from Jim Rohn: "Discipline is the bridge between goal and accomplishment."
That's it, isn't it? The bridge.
It contains the whole kernel of it.
Because we look at the goal over there and where we are here, and we forget there's this huge gap in between.
Yeah.
You don't just leap across. You've got to build something solid.
That bridge metaphor is spot on because it implies, construction. It implies effort, upkeep, consistency.
Right. It doesn't just appear.
No. It takes work. Consistent work, repetitive work, often when you absolutely do not feel like doing it, when the weather's bad, so to speak.
Right.
So right away, that tells us discipline isn't some optional extra. It's not just for soldiers. It's the actual infrastructure. It's what makes your vision, your smarts, your talent actually do something in the real world. It turns the idea into the result.
Okay, let's unpack that. Building the bridge. What does that actually look like day to day? Because we see successful people, and it's so easy to think, oh, they're just naturally gifted, or, things came easy for them.
Yeah, the narrative of effortless success.
But the research we looked at just tears that down. So if it's not luck or just raw talent, what's the real operational definition here? How does achievement happen through discipline?
It really boils down to a simple but hard thing. Discipline is that choice you make every single day to do the thing that needs doing. Whether you feel like it or not, that's the key.
Regardless of feeling.
Totally. It's about commitment to the action itself. The sources kept highlighting the separation. Act first. Feelings might follow, or they might not. Doesn't matter. You see someone successful, and it looks smooth, right? Effortless. But when you dig down, what you find are just years and years of unseen discipline.
That iceberg analogy.
Exactly. The huge success you see. That's just the tip. Underneath, there's this massive, solid base of work, consistent, often boring work that nobody ever applauded.
And that phrase, even when the feeling isn't there, that feels like the absolute crux of it. That's the dividing line, isn't it?
It really is.
Between someone who dabbles when they're inspired and someone who just produces like a professional.
That's a great way to put it. The pro relies on the process, the standard operating procedure, not the muse, which is why looking at these case studies, these icons of discipline, is so revealing. They just dismantle the whole myth of spontaneous genius.
Right. Talk about some of those examples. Who really stands out?
Well, the thread isn't really the talent itself, because talent has limits, right? It's the application that's potentially limitless. Michael Jordan comes up again and again in analyses of sports dedication.
Of course. The talent was undeniable.
Oh, unbelievable talent. But what made him Jordan, what pushed him into that legendary status, was his obsession with getting better beyond that natural gift.
We all know the stories, first in, last out of the gym. But what does that actually mean in practice? It wasn't just for show.
No, not at all. It meant identifying weaknesses and attacking them relentlessly. People forget he had to really work on parts of his game later on his mid-range, his three-pointer. Yeah. Discipline for him meant grinding away at those drills, the less glamorous stuff, hours after everyone else had packed up and gone home. That's dedication that goes way beyond just having great genes.
And then there's the flu game. That's like discipline personified, isn't it?
Absolutely. A perfect storm.
Oh, yeah.
Physically, he was wrecked, nauseous, dehydrated. Every signal his body could send was screaming SOP.
Yeah.
But his commitment, his discipline towards his team, towards the goal, it just overrode all of that. He showed up, played incredibly, won the game. That's discipline operating when biology is actively fighting against it.
It's almost superhuman.
It feels like it, but it's trained.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the same principle in completely different fields, like writing. I used to think great authors just had this constant flow of brilliant ideas.
Me too. Like they just turn on the inspiration tap.
But the reality, looking at people like Stephen King or J.K. Rowling, it's the opposite. It's about the routine.
So what did their discipline look like?
It looks like a job. King famously writes every single day. Holidays, birthdays, doesn't matter. He hits his word count.
Wow.
Because if you only write when you feel inspired, maybe you get a few good days a month, right?
Not enough to finish a book?
Exactly. But if you treat it like work, show up every day, put in the hours, whether you feel it or not, you finish manuscripts, they built the habit, they didn't wait for the feeling, they showed up and did the work, creating the conditions for inspiration maybe, but not relying on it.
Okay, so it sounds, well, honestly, it sounds kind of boring sometimes. The source material even says discipline is silent, consistent, and often boring.
It often is.
But that boring consistency, you said it builds something crucial, momentum.
Yeah.
How does that quiet daily grind turn into this, like, unstoppable force?
Momentum is, it's the payoff. Physically, psychologically, think about habits. The first few times you do something new, like getting up an hour earlier, it takes huge mental effort, right?
Yeah.
Your willpower, that prefrontal cortex part of your brain, is working overtime.
Oh, yeah. That internal negotiation when the alarm goes off, it's exhausting.
Totally exhausting. But here's the thing. If you keep doing it, using discipline, the brain starts to rewire. That action slowly gets handed off from the effortful planning part, the PFC, to the habit center, the basal ganglia.
Ah, okay. So it becomes more automatic.
Exactly. Once it's in the basal ganglia, it takes way less conscious thought, way less energy. It's like driving a familiar route versus navigating a new city.
So the initial push, like rolling a heavy boulder, that's pure willpower.
Right.
But momentum is when the boulder starts rolling on its own, and it actually takes effort to stop it.
You got it. It flips from a struggle against resistance to a flow with automaticity. The disciplined person isn't debating, should I go to the gym today? The decision's already baked into the system. The habit pulls them. And that buildup of small, boring efforts, that's how you beat inertia and build real, sustainable momentum.
That's the external side. What about the internal impact? You mentioned this idea of self-trust being the foundation. Let's dig into that.
Self-trust. Yeah, this is maybe the most critical piece. It's like your internal credibility score. Every time you tell yourself you'll do something and then you actually follow through, even something tiny, like, I'll deal with these emails at 9 a.m., not before, and you stick to it. You're sending a message deep inside. I keep my word to myself. You're strengthening that inner foundation.
And the flip side, the person who constantly breaks those promises to themselves, sets the alarm, hits snooze 5 times, starts the diet Monday, quits by Tuesday.
They are systematically destroying their own self-trust. They're basically training their subconscious mind that their commitments, their intentions mean absolutely nothing, even to themselves. Yeah. And that leads to this background hum of anxiety, guilt, feeling like a fraud. And ultimately, it builds this devastating belief that they just can't change.
So discipline isn't just about getting stuff done externally. The real power is building this unshakable core confidence, knowing deep down that you're someone who follows through.
Absolutely essential, because life will throw curveballs. You'll face setbacks, failures. Everyone does. But the person with that core self-trust doesn't collapse into self-doubt.
Right.
They might be disappointed, sure, but they trust their process. They know they have the bedrock consistency to show up again tomorrow, learn, adjust, and keep going regardless of what happened yesterday. That internal stability is gold.
Okay, that stability you're talking about brings us right to a huge trap. So many people get this wrong. They know they need goals, they know they need action, but they try to power the whole thing with the wrong kind of fuel.
Ah, yes. The motivation trap.
They chase motivation when really they should be building discipline. But motivation feels so good, doesn't it? It's exciting, that spark. Why are we so drawn to it?
Oh, it's biological dynamite. When you get that hit of inspiration, watch a great movie, hear an amazing speech, your brain gets a nice little flood of dopamine.
The feel-good chemical.
Exactly. It's the promise of reward, the thrill of possibility. It makes starting feel easier, lowers the initial friction. Our brains are wired to chase that immediate rush.
But the analysis we looked at is really clear. For anything that takes time, anything meaningful, motivation just isn't reliable, is it?
It's fundamentally unstable because it's tied to emotion, and emotions are, well, notoriously fickle. They change like the weather.
Right.
Your mood depends on sleep, what you ate, some random comment someone made, the news. Countless things you can't control, so you can feel totally fired up one day.
Ready to conquer the world.
Yeah, and the very next day, maybe you slept badly or got some frustrating email, and suddenly, zero motivation. Poof, gone.
So trying to power a long-term goal, something that takes months or years, with something that vanishes overnight, it's just setting yourself up to fail.
It's like trying to cross the ocean on a raft made of sugar cubes. It dissolves. Discipline, on the other hand, it's defined completely differently. It's not a feeling. It's a commitment. A commitment to act no matter how you feel. It's mood agnostic. It's saying, my long-term goals are more important than my temporary feelings.
Let's use that fitness analogy again, because everyone gets that.
Yeah.
Walk us through it. Person A runs on motivation. Person B runs on discipline. What happens over, say, 6 months?
Okay. Person A, the motivator, starts strong, buys all the gear, posts about #new beginnings, hits the gym 5 times the first week, feels amazing.
Riding that dopamine wave.
Totally. But then week 4, maybe they catch a cold or work gets crazy busy. That initial buzz fades. They think, I just don't feel like it today. And because feeling is their trigger, they skip.
And skipping gets easier.
It does. They have to wait for that feeling to come back. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't for a while. They lose momentum. It becomes this cycle. An intense starts, fizzling out, feeling guilty, restarting. Frustrating.
Okay, what about person B, the disciplined one? Maybe they don't even feel that initial huge buzz.
Maybe not. They might even dislike the first few workouts. But they commit to a system. Let's say gym, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning, non-negotiable.
Right. The decision is already made.
Exactly. So that same rainy, busy Tuesday when person A bails, person B feels tired too, maybe work was stressful, but the internal dialogue isn't, do I feel like it? It's Tuesday, gym day.
So they go, even if it's not their best workout.
Even if it's a short, half-hearted workout, they show up. They tick the box. They maintain the system. The consistency of the act matters more than the quality of any single instance, especially early on.
And fast forward 6 months.
Person A, the motivator, maybe they're slightly fitter than when they started, maybe not. They've probably spent a lot of time feeling bad about inconsistency. Person B, they've made steady, undeniable progress. It wasn't always exciting, no huge emotional peaks maybe.
But no demoralizing valleys either.
Precisely. The results belong to the one who just kept showing up week after week, especially after that initial excitement wore off.
Okay, but I want to push on this slightly. Is motivation always bad? What about when you achieve something through discipline? Doesn't that success then create its own motivation? Like if I force myself to run and I finish my first 5K race, won't that feeling make me want to keep going? How does that feedback loop work?
That's a really important point, and yes, the research absolutely supports that. Discipline is how you engineer reliable motivation.
Ah, okay. So it's not an either.
Not entirely. Think of it like this. The initial motivation, the spark, that's often external, fleeting. But when you use discipline to actually do something, to hit a milestone, that achievement triggers internal, intrinsic motivation.
Like pride, competence.
Exactly. In a sense of, wow, I actually did that. That feeling is powerful. And it's earned. It's reliable because you created it through action, not just wishing.
So discipline isn't the enemy of motivation. It's the engine that creates the kind of motivation that actually lasts.
You nailed it. Discipline forces the initial success, and that success then provides real, sustainable fuel for the next round of effort. You stop waiting passively for inspiration to strike, and you start actively building your own self-igniting motivation engine.
Okay, that transition is key. Let's break down that sequence for listeners. What are the steps?
Right, the success sequence. 3 steps. First, motivation gets you started. Acknowledge it. Use it. It's the spark plug, the initial idea, the dream. Great for getting off the ground.
Step 1, use the spark.
Step 2, discipline keeps you going. This is the hard work, the daily grind. Maintaining altitude when the initial thrill is long gone. This is sticking to the plan, relying on your system, not your mood.
The bridge building part.
Exactly. And step 3, consistency makes you unstoppable. This is where the magic happens. Discipline plus time, SURDS, consistency. Habits form, momentum builds, and paradoxically, it starts to take less energy to keep going than it would to stop.
You're not fighting gravity anymore.
You're riding the wave you created yourself.
So the takeaway here for you, the listener, if you're sitting around waiting for the right mood or the next big wave of inspiration before you tackle something hard, you're doing it backwards.
Yeah. The disciplined person isn't waiting for inspiration. They're building a system. That's the difference. And building that system, making discipline work, means we have to get real about why it's so damn hard in the first place. We need to talk biology.
Okay, because it often feels like a personal failing, doesn't it? Why can't I just resist that cookie, stay off my phone, get out of bed?
Right. We internalize it as weakness. But a huge part of the struggle isn't personal inadequacy. It's that we're fighting millions of years of evolutionary wiring.
This is what the sources call the biological comfort biases. Explain that. How are we wired in a way that makes resisting temptation so difficult?
Think about our ancestors way back when. Survival depended on conserving energy and grabbing resources immediately. If you found berries or hunted successfully high-calorie pleasure, you ate it all right then.
Because tomorrow was uncertain.
Totally uncertain. If you had a chance to rest, conserve energy comfort, you took it. Your brain evolved to prioritize immediate pleasure and avoid immediate pain or effort. That was smart. It kept us alive in a world of scarcity and danger.
But now,
Yeah.
that same wiring gets us into trouble because the world is the opposite of scarce.
Exactly. We're drowning in comfort and instant gratification. Our ancient survival brain is walking around in a modern supermarket, basically. And everything around us, everything is engineered to hijack that system. Fast food, instant calorie hit, social media, instant validation pings, novelty, streaming, instant escape from boredom, which the brain registers as a kind of pain.
So it's not just us versus a tempting donut. It's us versus incredibly sophisticated systems designed to push our evolutionary buttons for profit. You mentioned dopamine earlier. How does that play out neurologically?
Okay, quick brain science bit. You've got the limbic system, the older emotional core. Think of the amygdala in there. It reacts instantly. Sees a notification, it shouts reward, check it now, sees danger, flee.
The immediate impulse.
Right. Then you've got the prefrontal cortex, the PFC. That's the newer, more human part. Planning, logic, impulse control, thinking about long-term consequences. That's the PFC's job.
The CEO of the brain.
Kind of, yeah. But it's slower. It takes more energy. And crucially, it has to actively override the lightning-fast limbic system. So when that notification pops, the limbic says, now W.
Whoa.
The PFC has to burn actual cognitive energy to say, hold on, finish this paragraph first.
So that feeling of effort when you're resisting something, that's the PFC literally working, fighting the primal urge.
That's the cognitive load. That's the biological battle right there. And understanding this is huge.
Why?
Because it shifts the frame. If you, listening, feel like self-control is hard, it's not because you're inherently weak or lazy. It's because you are fighting biology and a modern world designed to exploit it. It's difficult by default.
But that takes away some of the shame, maybe. Allows you to be more strategic about it.
Exactly. Less moral judgment, more practical strategy. And the key strategy, realizing that self-control, that PFC override muscle, it's trainable.
Like a muscle. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's run with that metaphor. Does it get tired? How do you train it?
The muscle analogy is great because, yes, it does get tired. This links to the idea of ego depletion. Research shows that willpower, the PFC's energy source, is finite, at least in the short term. Meaning, if you spend all morning resisting the urge to snack or check social media, that muscle gets fatigued. By the afternoon, you have less willpower left to handle frustration, make good decisions, or resist other temptations. You're more likely to snap or grab that unhealthy thing.
So you can actually run out of willpower for the day.
In a way, yes. Which tells us the goal isn't necessarily to have infinite willpower. That's probably impossible. The goal is to train the desired behaviors so they become automatic.
Back to habits, so they don't drain the willpower muscle as much.
Precisely. You train the muscle by using it consistently. Over time, the actions that initially required huge willpower, getting up early, choosing the salad, become habits run by the basal ganglia. They become the path of least resistance, conserving that precious PFC energy for truly novel challenges.
Makes sense, like lifting weights gets easier over time.
Same principle. If you stop lifting, muscles atrophy. If you constantly avoid difficult choices, your capacity for self-control weakens.
Okay, give us some concrete, maybe small ways to train this muscle beyond just go to the gym more.
It starts with small, deliberate acts of resistance or intentional action. Little reps for the PFC. For example, instead of trying to resist the whole box of donuts, start by just saying no to one when you feel the urge but don't really need it.
Okay.
If doom scrolling is your kryptonite, don't necessarily delete the app tomorrow. Try this. When you feel the urge to open it, force yourself to wait just 60 seconds. Breathe, then open it if you still want to.
That little pause creates space, doesn't it? lets the PFC catch up.
It creates a crucial gap between the stimulus, the urge, and the response, opening the app. In that gap, choice becomes possible. Another one, if you always grab your phone first thing, commit to just brushing your teeth and drinking a glass of water before you look at it.
Tiny changes.
Tiny, but consistent. Each small win delaying gratification, choosing the slightly harder option, following through on a micro commitment is a successful rep. It strengthens the muscle.
And the long-term payoff of all these little reps.
It's transformative. Things that felt genuinely impossible at first, resisting strong cravings, staying focused on a boring task for an hour, getting up without hitting snooze, they gradually become normal. They become your default setting.
You're essentially building a stronger internal structure that requires less active propping up over time.
Exactly. You move from constant energy-draining resistance to a state of aligned automaticity, which frees up so much mental energy.
Okay, now let's look at the dark side. The cost of not doing this. The sources say indiscipline does more than just stop you reaching goals. It actually steals your peace. How does that work psychologically?
Oh, the internal damage is insidious because it's often low grade and constant. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you should be working on the report, but you're watching cat videos. You need sleep, but you're arguing online.
Yeah.
You inject a little dose of guilt, regret, self-recrimination into your system. It's not like the sting of failing at something external. It's a deeper feeling of letting yourself down.
And it creates a nasty loop, right? Feel bad, seek comfort, often through more indiscipline, feel worse, repeat.
That's the self-sabotage cycle in action. It grinds down your self-respect. And where does it lead? To frustration, yeah, but ultimately to a loss of confidence in your own ability to change.
You start believing the negative self-talk.
You start identifying as someone who means well but just can't stick to things. And that identity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, poisoning your efforts before you even start. It robs you of internal peace, makes you constantly feel slightly off.
Which makes this next idea so powerful, even though it sounds backward at first. The paradox of freedom. Discipline feels like restriction, like rules, like punishment.
Yeah, the common view.
But the analysis argues it's the exact opposite. Discipline is freedom.
It's the highest form of freedom because it's freedom from your own impulses, it's self-mastery. Without discipline, you're basically a slave to whatever urge pops up strongest in the moment.
Like a leaf in the wind.
Pretty much. Crave sugar. You eat it. Feel tired. You quit. Feel offended. You lash out. Your biology, your environment, your fleeting emotions, they're controlling you.
Okay, so what kinds of freedom does discipline specifically grant?
Freedom from laziness, you act based on commitment, not comfort level. Freedom from distraction, you learn to choose where your focus goes instead of having it constantly hijacked.
Big ones in the modern world.
Huge, and maybe the biggest, freedom from regret. Look, disciplined people still feel temptation. They're not robots.
Right.
They've just learned not to be ruled by it. They understand the trade-off.
Yeah.
This brief moment of comfort or ease right now often creates long-term pain, limitation, and regret later. Choosing the short-term discomfort, the disciplined action, that builds long-term ease, options, and peace.
So you get to live life on your terms, responding deliberately instead of just reacting impulsively.
That's sovereignty over self. That's real freedom.
Okay, we've covered the physics of it, momentum, the biology fighting that comfort bias. Now let's get into the software, the internal programming. The sources really emphasize that discipline isn't just something you do. It starts with how you think.
Absolutely. It's an identity shift. If you're just waiting to magically feel disciplined one day, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
You have to consciously adopt the mindset of a disciplined person first. And that mindset, according to the analysis, is built on a few core non-negotiable beliefs. These act like mental filters. They simplify choices.
Okay, let's break them down. What's the first one? You said it cuts off the internal debate before it starts.
Belief number one, and it's absolute. I don't negotiate with excuses.
No negotiation.
Yeah.
What does that mean in practice? It's more than just not hitting snooze, right?
It's about pre-commitment and emotional detachment from the decision point. The disciplined mindset understands the moment you feel tired or bored or intimidated by a task, that is the worst possible time to decide whether or not to do it.
Because your feelings will argue for the easy way out.
Always. So you make the commitment beforehand when you're calm and rational. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., I make that difficult phone call. Then when 3 p.m. rolls around and you feel the dread creeping in, it doesn't matter. The decision is already made. You just execute.
It cuts the excuses off at the knees. I don't feel like it becomes irrelevant information.
Exactly. The core idea here is feelings are temporary, fleeting. Actions have permanence. That feeling of dread before the call, it'll probably vanish 2 minutes after you start dialing. But skipping the call, that creates a real lasting deficit in your progress, maybe in a relationship, and definitely in your self-trust account. Excuses are the enemy of execution.
Okay, but let me challenge that slightly. Is it always absolute? What if something genuinely unexpected happens? Like you planned a 6 a.m. workout, but your kid was sick all night, you got maybe 2 hours sleep. Surely you don't just drag yourself to the gym then. Isn't that just stupid?
That's a great question, and it highlights the crucial difference between an excuse and a legitimate strategic adjustment. An excuse is usually about avoiding discomfort or effort you planned for. I'm too tired when you just stayed up late watching TV. A strategic adjustment, like in your sick kid example, acknowledges a higher priority or a genuine physical limitation. Health, family emergencies, those override a planned workout.
So the disciplined person doesn't rigidly stick to the plan if it becomes genuinely harmful or counterproductive.
Right. They acknowledge the reality, make a conscious decision to adjust, okay, sleep is the priority now, and crucially, they commit to getting back on track immediately. Maybe the workout happens later or tomorrow. They don't use the disruption as an excuse to abandon the routine altogether. There's no guilt because it was a necessary pivot, not a surrender to comfort.
Got it. That distinction is key.
Yeah.
Okay, belief number 2. This one tackles something that trips up a lot of ambitious people: perfectionism.
Yes. Belief 2 is small steps matter.
So fighting that all or nothing thinking.
Exactly. Perfectionism sounds noble, but it's often just fear wearing a fancy coat, fear of not being good enough, fear of failure, and it leads to paralysis. If I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
The disciplined mindset rejects that. It knows consistency trumps intensity every single time. The focus isn't on hitting a home run every day. It's just on getting on base, making progress, however small.
Ties right back to momentum, doesn't it? Just keep the wheels turning, even slowly.
Absolutely. Think compound interest, doing just 1% more, or even just showing up for the minimum viable effort on a bad day. It adds up enormously over time. Can't face writing 1,000 words, write 100. Can't do the full hour workout, do 15 minutes.
The key is not breaking the chain.
Don't break the chain. The psychological win of just showing up, even imperfectly, is huge. It avoids that massive energy cost of having a restart from a dead stop later. Small, consistent steps build the bridge.
Okay, belief 3. This one requires actively leaning into the very thing we're wired to avoid: discomfort.
This is maybe the biggest mental flip. Belief 3, discomfort is growth.
Reframing pain completely.
Totally. Most people operate on. Discomfort is actually retreat. It triggers that primal avoidance system. The disciplined mindset learns to see discomfort differently. It understands growth, learning, getting stronger. It always happens just outside your current comfort zone.
So if it feels easy, you're probably not growing.
Pretty much. If it feels hard, awkward, maybe even a little painful, mentally or physically within safe limits, obviously, that's the signal that you're stretching, you're expanding your capacity.
So if I'm learning a complex new software and my brain feels fried after an hour, instead of thinking I suck at this, I should think, okay, this feeling means my brain is actually working hard and building new connections.
Exactly. The discomfort becomes data. It's a signpost saying growth happening here. It's not a stop sign. It's proof you're on the right track. Disciplined people sometimes even practice what's called voluntary hardship.
Like taking cold showers or something.
Could be. Or deliberately choosing the harder project at work. Fasting intermittently. Taking the stairs when the elevator's right there. Not to punish themselves, but to intentionally build that resilience muscle, to expand their tolerance for discomfort. They see the challenge not as a threat, but as the fertilizer for growth.
Powerful reframing. Okay, the final belief.
Yeah.
This connects all that internal stuff back to the real world, to results.
Yes. Belief 4 is the foundation of empowerment. I'm responsible for my results. Total ownership.
No blaming, no complaining.
None. Zero. The disciplined person takes 100% responsibility for their outcomes, good, bad, or ugly. They refuse to point fingers at the economy, their boss, their childhood. Bad luck.
But blaming feels so good sometimes. It lets you off the hook psychologically.
For a moment, yes. But it also makes you completely powerless. If it's always someone else's fault, then you have no control, no ability to change things going forward.
Whereas ownership, even if it stings, puts the control back in your hands.
Entirely. If the results aren't what you want, the discipline question isn't who can I blame? It's, okay, what do I need to do differently? What part of my process needs to change? It's about controlling your inputs, your actions, because that's all you truly can control. That outcome follows from that.
So when you put all 4 beliefs together, no excuses, small steps matter, discomfort is growth, take full responsibility, the sources say something interesting happens. Discipline stops feeling like just control and becomes clarity.
That's the ultimate state, isn't it? Clarity. When these beliefs become your operating system, decision-making gets radically simplified. That constant internal battle, the negotiation that drains so much energy from most people, it just fades away.
How so?
Because you know who you are. You know what you stand for. If your identity is, I am someone who finishes what they start, then when things get tough, the option of quitting just doesn't even really register as a viable choice. The path is clear. The decision is pre-made by your core beliefs. That's clarity. And it leads to incredibly consistent, powerful action. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow. Okay, that was a deep dive for sure. We started seeing discipline as that essential bridge. We confirmed it's not about flashy moments, but that quiet, consistent, sometimes boring work that builds real momentum.
And why we need it, because motivation, while nice, is just too unstable to rely on long term.
Then we got into the tough stuff, the biology. Accepting we're wired for comfort, but realizing self-control is like a muscle we can actually train.
And recognizing the hidden cost of not training it, that slow erosion of self-trust, that theft of our inner peace.
Right. And finally, building that mental blueprint, those 4 core beliefs. No excuses, small steps, embrace discomfort, own your results. It really paints a picture of discipline not as restriction, but as something else entirely.
Yeah, the whole narrative around discipline needs flipping. It's so often painted as this joyless, rigid existence, a life of constant denial.
But the conclusion from everything we've looked at is the complete opposite. Discipline doesn't make life dull. It actually makes it meaningful.
That's the core of it, meaning it comes from alignment. Knowing your actions, day in and day out, even the hard ones, are lined up with what you truly value, where you truly want to go.
You stop chasing those fleeting highs of instant gratification, which always leave you feeling a bit empty anyway.
Right. And you start building something solid inside. A lasting satisfaction that comes from progress, from integrity, from keeping your word to yourself.
And that satisfaction, that alignment, that's the ultimate reward, isn't it? That's the highest freedom we talked about.
Freedom from being yanked around by every mood, every craving, every distraction. Freedom from regret. The freedom to actually choose your life's direction deliberately, to be the author of your own story, not just a character reacting to the plot.
Which leads us perfectly to that final, really profound takeaway from the analysis. Sum it all up for us.
Discipline. Fundamentally, it's self-love in action.
Self-love in action, not self-punishment.
No. It's recognizing that your future self, the happier, more fulfilled, more capable version of you, deserves the effort now. It's actively choosing that long-term well-being over short-term comfort. It's investing in your own peace and potential.
It lands differently.
It should. And so, for you, listening right now, the final thought we want to leave you with is this.
Take a hard look.
What temporary comfort, what easy way out, what immediate gratification are you consistently choosing right now? That thing you know you shouldn't do, or the thing you know you should do but keep avoiding.
Be honest with yourself.
Because that specific comfort, that specific pattern of avoidance, it's actively stealing your future peace. It's undermining your confidence, reinforcing the idea that maybe you can't change.
So find that one thing.
Identify it, and then make the decision. Commit to challenging that specific comfort. Just for today, maybe. That commitment, that small act of choosing your future over your immediate feeling. That's your next most powerful act of self-love expressed through discipline. That's where you start building.
Take ownership of that answer. Go build your bridge. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
Catch you next time.